Hello, everyone. I know I haven't posted in a while. It's been 2 weeks. There's a video I've been wanting to film, but I keep having to refilm it because I just keep messing it up. But it's gonna come out after this. Since I just watched Together yesterday, I was like, I might as well do a review on it. I have been seeing trailers for this movie for a while. It came out last week, so it just came out. And I was excited for it because it's horror. I love horror, and it's also body horror. I am kind of getting more into body horror because of the substance. I don't think when I really thought about it, I don't think I watched any body horror really before the substance. And I love the substance. I love that. I thought the substance was a fantastic movie. It has become one of my favorite movies of all time, and this movie is similar in that aspect because it does deal with body transformation. Um, Weirdly, in kind of the opposite direction, because in the substance, it's one person becoming two entities, and in this movie, it's two becomes one. Um, but yeah, I think that this movie, I think it was a great movie. Um, I think that it stars Alison Brie and Dave Franco, and they're both a real life couple. I actually just found out that they've been together for 13 years, and I did not know that. I actually didn't know they were together until I started to see the promo for this movie. I had no idea they were even together before that. But yeah, I didn't realize they were together for that long. But I've been watching interviews from them, and they're really cute. They seem like a great couple, and they did really well in this movie. The movie is just basically about this couple who clearly are strained. And because one person, Dave Franco's character Tim, is very kind of distant and not wanting to fully dive into the relationship. They move to somewhere else outside because they live in the city, but then they move to a small town, and they end up in a situation where they start to they something weird starts to happen to them, and they start to kind of fuse together. But spoiler free though, I think it's a great movie. I think if you want to see it, go see it. Don't watch the rest of this video. Go see it. Um, I think it's a great movie to watch if you're in a relationship. I think it'll make or break the relationship. I'm not in one personally, but I know that seen a lot of couples talk about going to watch this movie because it is about a relationship. That's the central thing in the movie, and I think it would have been great if this came out around Valentine's Day. But yeah, I think I think it's a fantastic movie. I give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. That's just for the spoiler free portion, but I will be talking about more details. So I'm going to break down the movie. I'm not going to break down every single detail because even though I watched it yesterday, I unfortunately don't remember everything in order. It's pretty straightforward though. It's not that long. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. But I'll just talk about major thing that happens. I'll try to do it in order, but I can't promise that. So it starts off where these people are searching for missing people. There are a bunch of people searching for a missing couple, and they have two dogs with them to search. And these dogs end up in this like hole where it's like this cave, and there's like a puddle of water. The dogs drink from the water. They start acting really weird. They start just staring at each other, and the one of the dudes, he actually owns a dog, and he's like, what's going on? But they go home. They're in like this tent that he's keeping them in, and you start hearing like a bunch of noises. It's honestly was kind of uncomfortable to watch because it's like dogs crying or whatever, and I hate hearing anything like that. But yeah, and then he walks in there, and he very hesitantly, because he has a flashlight, and he very hesitantly looks at them, and they're like combined together, but they're not fully combined. Yeah, and then we're in an apartment. We have Dave Franco's character and Alison Brie's character. Dave Franco's character is, like I said before, named Tim. Alison Brie's character is named Millie. They're at a party with their friends because they're about to move. And she goes in where he's at the room, and she's like, everybody thinks it's cute that we're matching. But then you notice that when he leaves the room, he changed his jacket. And so they're like about to say their goodbyes to their friends. And then she proposes to him, but she doesn't have a ring. So she's like that, and he basically takes a long time to answer because he's like kind of blindsided by it, and it's so uncomfortable to watch. Like, and they let you really sit in it, and it's so uncomfortable. Just very clear show of like how kind of weird their relationship is, that Tim is not really willing to really dive into the relationship. You can really tell. And then later on, they're in bed. She starts saying certain things about him, but it's clearly not her. It's clearly what he's thinking that she thinks of him. And she says something like, "You resenting me doesn't make you any less of a loser." And then she says, "I can't sleep with them staring at me." And you look across the bed, and it's his parents, and his dad is like slumped over, and then his mom is like smiling, but it's this really distressed smile. It's very scary. Like, this actually really did scare me. Um, but then we wake up. They're in their new house. They are putting things in the house or whatever, and then Allison's Millie, Allison's character, is there for a job as a teacher. Then her she meets a coworker named Jamie. Um, then there is some point later on where he's like, oh wait, no, not yet. They go to the cave. This is where they go. They go on a hike. Then they end up in the same cave that the dogs ended up in, and they drink from the water. A bunch of weird stuff starts happening. Tim has a dream where he's like breathing and the cave is breathing with him, and then he looks over and Millie is like hyperventilating, but then he wakes up and you think that it's just a dream. So they get out of the cave. Um, there's a point where Tim is giving a massage to Millie, and he like goes into like this trance, and he starts to like kind of like grab at her skin, and she's like ow, like that hurts, like because and he doesn't know what's going on. But then Millie goes into town. Then he goes and take a shower. He goes to take a shower, and he starts going into a trance again, where he's like following the car and the way she's moving it around the shower, and gets to the point where he hits himself on the glass and he hits his forehead. And he goes to the doctor. They prescribe him. He's like, "Isn't this Valium?" And then he's like, "Well, it's called diazepam now." They like make a point to say that two times throughout the movie. But the doctor mentions the missing couple that the people were looking for early on in the movie, and so he goes and he does his own research about it. And but then yeah, he does his own research about it or whatever, and then they are talking about posts, and he's just like, don't, because he's looking at their posts online. He's like, basically saying that they're cringy, and he's just like, whenever I die, make sure to erase my social media and don't let me die on something cringy. And they show like his last post, and it says, "We took the plunge," and it's them because they moved in or whatever. And at night, they're going to bed, and she's like, Millie's like moving around in her bed, and she's like, "No, you're on my hair. Can you get off my hair?" And she turns on the light, and he's ingesting her hair, like ingesting her hair. Oh my god, it just your hair. And because I remember I had saw this in a preview they did of the movie, and it was so scary because they just show it for a second. You see the hair going in his mouth, and he pulls it out. Then we have the next morning. He's about to leave to go on tour with his friends because he's a musician, and he really is trying to go forward with his career. So he's trying to go with his friends, and she's like, because he's kind of ignoring what happened, and she's like, "Don't you want to talk about this?" And he's trying to ignore it because she has to take him to the train because she's the one that drives because he doesn't drive. She takes him there. She goes off to work, and he basically starts to have a panic attack. And he takes the volume, the diazepam, and it's not doing anything. He's still having a panic attack because he's without her. And so he ends up leaving his shit at the train station because he took his guitar and like suitcases, and he goes to the school. And so she goes and she grabs him. She's like, "You can't be here." And then so he's like, "I need you," because want something that's in their relationship is that they haven't been doing much in their sex life. But then he's like, "I need you," and they go into the bathroom stall and they have sex in the bathroom stall. But then his wiener gets stuck. His wiener gets stuck. Oh, dude. and they're like panicking. They're like panicking because it really is like suck, and they're like panicking. And so she's like, "I'm sorry," and so she covers his mouth and she takes it out, and you see someone standing out, like you see her coworker and a kid comes in. I think a kid was in there and maybe thought something was going on, so he went and told her coworker Jamie. Where they go in there and she's like, everything is fine. She leaves the bathroom and you can see that she starts to bleed. And right before Jamie leaves the bathroom, you can see Tim's foot go down the stall. And then so after that, when they get home, she's clearly like angry at him because she's like, "You can't do that. Like I could get fired or whatever." And he's trying to like explain to her, like, "Hey, like it's not my fault. I don't know what's going on. It's not my fault." And she's obviously upset at him. But then she goes to Jamie's house because he lives close to them, and she's like, "Hey, I'm sorry about what happened." Oh, I forgot to say before this happened, they end up having a dinner with Jamie there. He was talking to them about, because they were talking about the cave they got stuck in and talk about the bells and everything they saw, and saying that it was Tim was like it probably was a cult there, and yeah, what the dude was like, yeah, it was some hippy dippy thing, but they like started to go off, and the members started to like dwindle away basically. But then right, but when he left, because Tim had thought that she had a crush, that he had a crush on her, like Jamie had a crush on Millie, and like kind of giving a bit of like a jealousy vibe. But then she goes close to him and was like, "Oh," like playing around, like, "Oh, I'll just go with him." And then he goes and he kisses her and leans in and does all this, but then their lips get stuck together, and she thinks that he bit her. And she's like upset because she's just like, you keep pushing yourself towards me, and then you keep moving away. Like, if you don't want to fuck me, just say that. But then fast forward, like I said, she's at Jamie's house. She's talking about their problems. Jamie's talking about his partner, um, and you just assume that his partner died, or whatever. Um, he was like, he has two rings on his ring finger. He's like, the best part of me was him, or something like that. And he's actually right about to show her their wedding video, but then she gets up and leaves because Tim is right outside. She can see him outside, and she goes to him, and he's like, "I don't know what to do. Like, there's something going on." But then she starts to feel it. She starts to feel the uh, effects of it because he's like in his music studio room, and she bangs up against the glass door, and whatever, and she gets on him because when they go to sleep it gets worse because it's like their body's just taking over, and then she's bleeding and she still thinks that he did something and she doesn't know what's going on. Um but then they try to, then after that they keep their distance in separate rooms because they had a spare room, and then their bodies start to move by themselves. Tim starts to move out of his room and move across the floor, and then she escapes from her room, and their bodies are like contorting in crazy ways, and then their arms start to fuse together, and they're right by the desk that has the pills in it, the diazepam, and so they start to take as many as possible and start to snort it and everything, and it's so intense. It's a very intense scene, but it's very very well done, very well acted too. After they snort the like diazepam, and they like, you see Tim wake up, and um Millie's on him, and she has like this saw. They actually foreshadowed that earlier when they were moving in, because they showed him talking about it. But they showed the saw. She gets the saw, and she's like, we have to saw through because their arms are still stuck together, and then we have to saw through it. And she's like, I'm giving him whiskey. She's like, whiskey for the pain. And she's like giving him the whiskey, but then she starts to feel it, so she's like, no, we don't need to do that. We have to just do it. We have to just do it. And so she just does it. They don't show the whole thing of them attaching it. They just show a little bit of it, them screaming, and they cut, and they're separate, and they're like far from each other in the kitchen, and they're like eating something. I don't know what it is. And then so they're about to leave because she wants them to go to the hospital because they just sawed through each other's fucking arms, and she's like, we have to go to the hospital. But then she realizes she forgot her keys, at Jamie's house. And she goes to Jamie's house. She's trying to find her keys. She's like, I just need to get my keys. And then she sees that his wedding video is playing in like some sort of closet or whatever. And you can see that him and his partner were a part of the cult of where that cave is. They were a part of it. It's basically like an initiation ritual. They cut both of their arms and they rub it together, and you find out that Jamie is both of the partners fused together. So they basically fully went through the fusing process. And while Millie's in there, she told Tim don't do anything stupid, but he went to the cave because he's trying to find answers. But she goes and he's like, and Jamie's like, no, it's such a beautiful thing, like it's a beautiful process. And to speed it up, he cuts her arm open to try to speed up the process. And as she's leaving, she hits him, and you can see his face kind of move and shift into like two different faces. And she leaves. While Tim is in the cave, you see the missing people, the missing couple. You see the missing couple there, and they're like not fully fused together or whatever and, and whatever, and they're like help, they're like asking for help, they're like help me, and they even had like a knife in the neck, and he takes it out and he's able to get out. He goes to Millie and she's like, you went, and he's like, yeah, I had to find answers. And he is like and he's like um yeah, I have to figure out how to do this, and basically we have, the only thing we can do is one of us has to die. And so he offers to die. And as they're going, they are being pulled together. But then he's like, he does the thing that she does with the engagement without the ring, and he's like, no, I want this relationship. I realized that before this I was less, but before I had you, and I fully want to be in this relationship. And she's dying because she's bleeding out because Jamie had cut her arm, and he's grabbing her because she already was, it was because she was gonna sacrifice herself because she was already dying. So she's dying out, but then we cut, and she's like waking up in the house, and because she was losing color before, you can clearly see she was losing color, but she has more color, and he just let his arm fuse to hers because that was the only way to stop the bleeding. And she's like, do you want to do this? And they basically are fully going forward with fusing together. And he starts playing "To Become One" by Spice Girls, and they get up, they take off their clothes, and they start dancing together to the song, and they are kissing, and they start to fuse together, and it's so freaky, bro. It's so crazy, but metaphorically, it is kind of romantic. Like I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of romantic. Um, but then we see them fuse together, and she had said earlier that her parents were coming for dinner on Sunday. So we fast forward. The table is set. Her parents come in. Her parents come by the door. They knock on the door, and they have the bell from the church. They have the bell by their door, and then you open the door, and then it's literally Allison Brie and Dave Franco fused together. It's like some random non-binary person, and that's it. Um, I think this movie was great. I really do. I think it was very straightforward. There's nothing that really drags on. I know some people kind of said that it was kind of rushed. Um, I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe it was kind of rushed. Um, Also, I do think I do kind of agree with who were saying that it should have ended with just them views. I honestly feel like that honestly could have been a little bit better. I don't mind the ending, but I think it could have been better if they did just end at them fusing together and that was it. But yeah, I think it was a great movie though overall. One thing that I really like about this movie is that they kind of flip the typical horror trope where usually it's a woman going through something and her husband or boyfriend doesn't believe her. It flips it, and it's the man who isn't. Oh, what was I gonna say? No, actually, let me add on to that. Usually, it's a woman who's like usually has some history of mental illness, or her parents do, her mom does, or something, and she is like looked at as, oh, you're just going crazy, or you're just being just like your mom, or something like that, and they're not being believed by their husband or their boyfriend. But it flips that. It has the man go through it first, him have a history of mental illness with his mother, which I have just realized I don't think I talked about that. I didn't talk about that. I just realized that. But anyways, but I'll go back after I get done with this. But yeah, his mom has a history of mental illness, and he's looked at as if he's just going crazy, you know. But the thing that I did forget to mention is that his history with his parents, like I said before when I mentioned them seeing them across the bed, was because his father had died, and his mom basically continued to just act like everything was normal. When he had visited, that he saw that his father was dead, and his mom was just smiling at him like everything was fine, because she was severely mentally ill, and she had put so much of herself into the relationship with her husband that she didn't know how to be without him. And so she just continued to act like everything was fine. And that's something that definitely shows in his relationship with Millie, because he doesn't want the same thing to happen to him. He doesn't want to fully put himself in this relationship, and he maybe might end up in the same place his mom was. But yeah, I really do like that they flipped that dynamic. I think the effects were amazing. This movie actually genuinely was scary. Um, I see a lot of comparisons of Midsummer, and I actually kind of agree. When I first saw it, after I first watched the movie, I was like, I don't understand, I don't get it, but I actually do get it. There is similarities. You have the cult aspect, and then you have the relationship aspect, because I feel like the coldness within the relationship is similar to Danny and Christian's relationship. And you got in the cult aspect because they kind of came into the cult themselves, just like Jamie did, because they did fuse together at the end. But of course, it's definitely a sweeter ending than Midsummer, because in Midsummer, a lot of people took the Midsummer ending as a good ending, but really, obviously, it wasn't. This girl is stuck in a white supremacist cult, so like clearly that's not like clearly it's not a good ending. But with this one, with the metaphorical meaning of it, it's is a more sweeter ending, obviously. um when it comes to the substance, because a lot of people compare it to substance, but that clearly is just because of the body horror aspect. I think the body horror was honestly harder to watch in this one. I think it probably because it does have to do, because there are some things with animals like the dogs, and there's later on in the movie with the rats as well. But I think the body horror in this movie was worse, in my opinion. I think the one in the substance really wasn't that bad, in my opinion. Um, except for, I guess, the ending. The ending was kind of crazy if you've seen the substance, but for this one, I think it was harder to watch personally. Also, um, the substance was a lot sadder in general. The substance wasn't really scary, in my opinion. It was just sad. But this movie was actually scary. It's some aspects, like when it showed the flashbacks of his parents. That was scary. Like that genuinely scared me. Um, but other than that, like, it was a fantastic movie. I think it was very well done, well acted. I really, really liked it, and I suggest you go see it. I mean, it just came out, like I said. I suggest you go see it. If you don't like body horror though, then don't go watch it. It's probably gonna be really bad. I saw some people actually saying that they wish it went farther with the body horror, but I think it was perfectly fine with the way it was. But yeah, I thought it was great, and thank you for listening.